My name is Linda, and I'm a librarian. Today I'm going to talk a bit about migration. If you look around you these days, you won't see very many birds. That's because most birds migrate. They fly south to warm places for the winter and then fly north again for the summer to breed. It might seem like everybody knows that and has always known that, but that's not true. 2,300 years ago, there was a person named Aristotle who wrote about birds and how swallows and a few other kinds of birds hibernated, that they dug into the mud under ponds and slept through the winter. And it was only 300 years ago that everyone finally agreed Aristotle was wrong and that swallows really do migrate too. Lots of birds migrate. Some travel further than others. The Arctic tern migrates the furthest, flying almost all the way from the South Pole to the North Pole in spring and then back in the fall. By the time an Arctic tern is 10 years old, it has flown almost as far as from the Earth to the Moon. Why would they go so far? Well, the Arctic has summer, while Antarctica has winter, and the other way around. So by migrating back and forth, the terns get to have summer twice a year, and summer is when there's the most food too. Maybe you've never seen an Arctic tern, but you've probably seen one of these, a Canada goose. Did you know that they've been called Canada goose longer than Canada has officially been a country? Also, did you know that there are 7 different subspecies or types of Canada goose? The biggest one is the giant Canada goose, who weighs almost as much as a car tire, 23 pounds, 10 kilograms. The smallest one, the lesser Canada goose, weighs about 6 pounds, or just under 3 kilograms. That's a little more than a full 2-liter bottle of soda. You might think that the bigger geese would migrate further, but that is not true. The smaller species travel further, and some of the giant Canada geese don't even migrate at all. See, it takes a lot of energy to keep a bird's body up in the air, and the bigger it is, the harder it has to work. So small birds can migrate more easily and usually go a lot further than the big ones do. The smallest bird that migrates is the hummingbird. A ruby-throated hummingbird, for example, weighs just a little bit less than a nickel, about 3 grams, and could hide under your hand. They will migrate up to 6,000 kilometers. That's as far as it would be to drive from Winnipeg to Toronto and back again, and then all the way back to Toronto. Or, another way of looking at it, all the way across Canada from BC to Nova Scotia, from one ocean clear across to the other. How do birds know where to migrate to? That's a good question. There are different answers. It seems like some birds use the sun or the stars to show them which way they're going. Some fly along the lines of mountain ranges or along coastlines. Some birds follow the magnetic lines of the Earth that run between the North Pole and the South. Some birds just seem to know all about migrating without being taught. Other birds, like the whooping crane, learn about migrating from their families. There aren't very many whooping cranes left in the world, and so scientists started raising them in safe places and then setting them free to live in the wild. But so that the whooping cranes would behave like wild birds, first the scientists had to dress in whooping crane costumes when they took care of the chicks, and then they had to teach the young cranes how to follow a glider. Then, when it was time for their first migration, the scientists flew the glider along the traditional migration paths of the whooping crane. After the first trip south, the cranes could migrate without help. We've talked about the longest migration, the Arctic tern, but what's the shortest migration? According to Guinness World Records, that honor belongs to the blue grouse, or dusky grouse, of North America. It spends the winters in the pine forests up on the Rocky Mountains. In spring, it migrates about 300 meters to the deciduous forest. Those are trees that drop their leaves in fall. And in that forest, it can feed on the fresh leaves and early seeds. It's not at all far. You could walk that in less than 5 minutes, and if you ran, maybe you could get there in 2 minutes. But mountain pine forest and valley deciduous forest are different kinds of ecosystems, which means that the plants and insects and animals are different in each of them. And the birds stay in one system for a season and then move to the other instead of flying back and forth every day or every week. So it still counts as a migration, even though it is very short. So those are the migration facts I wanted to tell you today. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for joining us in this Safe at Home Manitoba production. Stay safe inside your walls.